approached, but stopped. The shadow had flinched. My heart fell, it stopped, it gave up. My pulse and veins did tremble, my pallor ashened, I could feel the blood slalom down my life's tributaries. I felt that this was the end, and I feared that feeling. I was fearful of the intentions of this absence of light, the intentions that screamed its lust to consume me. I trembled at fantasies of how I was going to be eviscerated insufferably, with deliberate attention to every cell of gored flesh. In jerky, irregular movements, the thing reached behind its back, forcefully pulling something that appeared to be embedded within. The thing moved a long shape up to its face, focusing the end near the bottom of its face, and making a spasmodic movement, brought its arm down, and dropped the shape. I didn't hear it hit the ground, though I did hear a strange sound coming from its direction as it moved the obscured shape, like the initial slice of a vivisection. "You've arrived," a voice echoed. But it was not anything I'd ever heard of it, it transcended any animal or human's capacity. It was slow, rough, deep, something seemingly only obtainable by a computer program, except for the realness that crept into it, something too real. It was like a monster's voice that ululated from the darkness of an alley as you walked by it, of some creature sulking in the shadows, hungering for another victim. The voice seemed to come to me from far away, and I was not entirely sure that it was not telepathic. "What are you? What the fuck, man? What the fuck has been going on? How does this place exist?" I asked, finally at a point where this demented nightmare realm might be clarified. The thing basked in the shadows, silent for a moment. "Does the profanity help? Does it make your burden easier? Do you feel better?" it asked, deliberately, in choppy syllables. What kind of questions were these? I spoke out of habit. Why did it matter if those habits were considered profane? Was I truly supposed to argue semantics with a shadow man? But I realized it had been a long time since I had felt alright, and it was correct that obscenities did not help me find the way back to that long-lost state. Not since that dream had I known what it was to be at peace. Not since I first arrived here. When had I even woke up in this dimension? How long has it been? How long have I been away from reality? "A long time," it said. It heard my thoughts. "You must know how I feel," I told it, concisely, coldly. Indubitably, satisfaction crept into the voice. "And, that is why you are here." "What? So that you can know how I feel? What does that even mean?" "With viciousness, with malice, with pleasure, it means that you have been a delectable patron. Surely you have deduced the peculiarities of this realm. Surely, it is not without purpose. What purpose could any of this serve? This must be some sort of dream, some sort of undiscovered plateau of lucidity realized in a nightmare, because none of this makes sense. This was nothing more than a tedious journey of torment, of a night never followed with a day. This is hell." This made the enshrouded figure laugh dryly, hoarsely, a deep, dark expression of how true everything I said was. It stepped forth from the shadow's grasp. The monster was repulsive, hideous, disgusting, terrifying, every aspect of humanity's darkness and more. This was the source of every negativity that scuttled across the deepest depths of the ocean with ragged claws. Every deprecation uttered in distaste, in disdain, in hope of absolute bodily destruction. This was hatred, but it was more than that, it was beyond it, it was an epitome of the absence of light, it was the parasitic need to spread itself throughout every corner of the universe, until all would succumb to the same fate as their progenitor, to perpetually hate and be hated until time would end. And time would never end. This damn being scrawled messages of doom into my mind and scarred a depression deeper than hell's treacherous circle into my psyche. The actual look of the monster was much less profound than the non-verbal messages screamed ceaselessly, though still quite eldritch. The creature was withered, decrepit, marked by sickly signs of atrophy, aged keloids painting the patchwork of 1,000 grievous wounds, and brown, dead flesh clinging tightly to a gangly frame. Despite being so incapacitated, the being moved with an unnatural grace and poise, as if unencumbered by neither scars nor their memories. The thing had a snowy pallor, emanating Frower vibes. The ashy pigment seemed induced by an eternity away from the comforting caress of the sun, as if this fiend had chosen the frost and the absence of light over it. Its face was different, however. In places it seemed deteriorating, gangrenous, with flecks of flesh peeling in places. The mouth was highly disparate. The motion the creature had made earlier was indeed an incision, now slathered in a gray ink that seemed bodily. The flesh around was jagged, the strips remaining stiff, like leather. The whole visage was shaded a crimson, though, colored so that it looked like it might be artificial, as if face paint, but my mind whispered that it was not. Its eyes were longer than normal, stretching halfway down its nose, and they contained many colors and feelings at once: scarlet, crimson, infernal, bloody, icy, frosty, cold, pelagic, gray, mundane, lifeless, boring and bored. But the single most flagrant characteristic was the emptiness, the darkness, the lack of what seemed to be any sort of magnanimity, any mercy, any noble compassion, or any true love. This was a demon vomited up from the darkest abyss. My face twisted. "You think I am disgusting?" The expression is etched so ironically on your own ugly face. "As if I am any different than any of you humans? Or you?" He said this somberly, seriously. "Have you seen what your unredeemable race has done? If I could have wrecked the gruesome havocs. If only I had been there in person to see all those men slit their brethren's throats. Beings, all true connoisseurs of my own tastes, truly traitors to their own family. Nefariousness taints the breath with which we both take. I merely embrace it. I've had enough time." After all, the entire time he stared at me, unnervingly, every syllable spoken like a foreigner's secondary English. His dialect was so unearthly, so ethereal that it made me contemplate his native tongue and how it could possibly sound. What do demons say to each other? What were the other demons even like? Would there be more waiting for me? "Would you like to learn why you are here?" it asked, motionlessly, not particularly caring for either of my answers. "Yes," I asked, tensing up, afraid of what the result might be. The thing stood there, absolutely still, and everything got deathly quiet. "Then watch," and the monster slowly, deliberately brought its hands up, slowly placed its hands inside its mouth, and maintained perfect eye contact the whole time. Then it began pulling its jaws apart, ripping flesh and pulling bones at breakneck speeds, his whole face defaced, pulling on it like a bandage to adhesive that required painful force. And grew a new head, the old sagging around its neck like dead serpents. This one was perfectly square, taking up about as much space as its old one, and it was a sickly pale yellow color, reminiscent of putrescent infections bursting with infectious ichor. And I began to grow nauseous, my head felt light, the darkness got darker and the demon grew more and more like a shadow. My last breath was thin, and then I lost consciousness. I woke up with a start, as if I had ascended a vast distance at a breakneck speed, sucked back into my body. I was fully conscious instantly, and stared, quickly sitting up. I was in a bedroom with the lights turned off, nighttime, and there was someone, or something covered by a quilt we were sharing. My heart began palpitating, the dark dread of something horrible filled my being. It wasn't breathing. What if it was a corpse? Or a vampire? Or zombie? Maybe even a specter? Or demon? I took a deep breath, grabbed the edge of the quilt, and pulled it back. She had her back turned towards me, and it eased up and down in shallow breath. It started slowly increasing as she began to stir, after noticing her warmth had been stolen. She rolled over towards me, eyelids flickering and gazing at me. Not even being immersed in such darkness were her irises not divine. They had a glow to them, precious emeralds that seemed to have fallen from heaven and into this girl's eyes. They were the symbol of what she was to me. Green eyes meant her presence, and her presence was like God's loving warmth. In a crowded room or alone during a drive, when I saw her eyes, it reminded me that my moments were really happening, that she was really there with me. And now I was with her again. She looked up at me, quitting unconsciousness and leaning up upon her side, seeing that I was somewhat lucid myself. "What's up?" she asked sleepily. "I had this really bad dream. I totally fell back into my body at the end. I was instantly awake. But the dream was, damn, what was the dream? I was like being held hostage or something, or I was being chased and I needed to escape from like a jungle or a warehouse or something. It really felt like I was there just moments ago, like it was so real. It's okay, you might have had a lucid dream and the shift to waking consciousness shocked you. She was now sitting up, back against the ornately carved headboard. She was indeed the most beautiful human form I had ever seen, and the most beloved of any conscious being I had ever known. The darkness of the room melded ethereally into the wooden headboard behind her. The perfect edge of it encroached not a single cell upon her being, like her radiance was enough to keep the darkness away. Hell, I guess it was enough. I held up on own hands towards the backboard, against the brown emblem of the sun sinking out of the sky, with what instinctively felt like catastrophic momentum. Slowly the inky sea swarmed around the outline of my flesh, flecks of it leaping into my pores, swarming through my veins. I quickly withdrew my hand, and then the emblem turned into a hideous monster, the very embodiment of evil itself. But I had seen this thing before. Earlier. It was all a setup. I had only passed out in another dimension. I was still there. I quickly looked over. She still sat there, looking at me the whole time, wondering what indeed was going through my mind. All the steps and timeless oblivion I took, the depth to which I was phantasmagoria's victim, chokingly held by the throat. All the time I was away, and all the time I've been away from her eyes. Something bad has happened, I said somberly. She got a strange look on her face, perplexed. What's going on? I heard her, but was slightly distracted, for at that moment I got a peculiar feeling, like my legs had gotten slightly senseless. It wasn't that I could feel them, but they got an odd, spectral hollowness to them. I'm lost. I don't know where I'm trapped, and I'm not sure you'll ever be able to see me again. At this, her countenance transformed, a deep worry now evident. What? What do you mean? What are you even talking about? Why are you acting so weird? Is it because of that dream? No, this is serious. It wasn't a dream. I was knocked out by some creature, some demonic fiend, undead. He bathed in despair and agony. It emanated from him in the form of a black vapor that crept along the floor like mustard gas. It entered my lungs, and in his presence, I was never without the absence of light. The stench was malodorous. It forced itself into my throat. It tasted like corpses. She grew more and more disturbed as I went on. That's seriously fucked up. That's a horrible dream. The tingle of sleeping limbs grew stronger. I stretched out my limbs, but it did not go away. It wasn't a dream, though. I've been there for a long time, maybe a long time. Time didn't exist there, and I don't remember when it all began, but I know there was something before it. There was one time, I think, that I had a dream like this, like what's happening right now. The only thing I can remember about it was that there was a feeling that I'm having now, seeing you. I don't want to wake up. I do not want to wake up. The demon's there. It's watching my unconscious body, watching us right now. Are you serious? Listen, this is reality, I promise you. I'm here right now, I'm conscious. I've read about lucid dreams. They rarely aren't this extreme, but there've been some cases of intense dreams, even nightmares. A few people talk about what you're talking about, a sense of timelessness, feelings of being unable to return to reality, and deeply carved memories of real fear. A sentient zombie chemical weapon dispenser being is quite disturbing to my own imagination, so I can only imagine what it would feel like seeing it in what you believe to be reality. But it was all only because you were lucid in a dream. It was reality in a dream. She could see the effect dulling the edge of the memories embedded within me. Her words eroded my will to believe. But, just now, I saw something in the headboard, the darkness. So you just woke up from what felt like a timeless dream in hell, and you're tripping about seeing shapes on a headboard in the dark at night? Sounds to me like a hallucination. Our minds create things to perceive in the absence of stimulation. Old Gans fault. But listen, you haven't been anywhere, alright? Besides that moment when you almost crashed the car, you've been completely normal, completely here, the whole day. Then we went to sleep, and now you're telling me about a dream you had. Please tell me you see some sense in all of this." There was something I wanted to ask her about, but it slipped my mind. I was more caught up in the sense in her words. She explained everything perfectly. I had had a few lucid dreams before, and while not anywhere as immersive as the one I had just had, I could see elements of similarity. This one was just more real. Goddamn. I was truly scared there for a second. I was gone, exiled from this life, in a different dimension, I swear. It felt like it was truly my doom. I was almost ready to completely give up. "Just get some sleep, you'll feel better after some time has passed." This would indeed be a good idea. I was excited to feel time pass again. I laid myself to rest, and soon fell into unconsciousness. More dreams filled my night. In one of them, I was driving along the highway, with strange people, and for reasons I cannot remember. A minivan rear-ended me, though I continued to drive, swerving in and out of my lane as the highway curved. In another, I was in my car with a co-worker, speeding down a street at a lethal velocity, eventually balancing on just two wheels and smashing into a car ahead of me. We stopped completely, but then I reversed and drove off, of course. Later on, perhaps in another dream, I was driving, but for some reason I drove off a cliff instead of onto the bridge, and fell into a ravine, though there was no harm done to either my car or myself. I was lucidly awake as soon as I opened my eyes, sunlight streaming through the windows with an earthen glow. I could hear birds outside, happy to be alive, and the wind blew a gentle breeze that played the wind chimes with a virtuoso skill. I lay on my back, still for a moment, and then rolled over to find my love in slumber, breath shallow and at ease. I reached around her, and she stirred, clasping my arms. "Morning," she said. "I know it is." "Haha, you know what I meant," I smiled at this. I pulled closer. "Do you feel better?" she asked. "Yeah, I feel normal. It really feels like a dream now. I can't even hardly remember why I was so tripped out. It's all hazy, vague, like another life. I do remember these people, though I can't recall a single detail of any of their faces. In my mind they're all blurred, and a bit red. Dreams are weird like that, you know?" Yeah. After I went back to sleep I had some more, but it seems like every dream I had after, I was in a car. I wonder what that means? What do cars have to do with anything? After she said this, a switch flipped, a neuron fired, an aperture appeared and outspilled dismay. I could remember every detail of my ordeal in clarity. It wasn't a dream. Anxiety, dread, horror, despair embraced my throat like a bear trap. I was suddenly extremely uncomfortable, and my mind repeatedly kept pleading for it to not be true. How could it have all happened like this? I was out. I had escaped. How could I not have? No, what the fuck? I quickly backed up, falling out of the bed and pulling myself to a corner of the room, sight locked on her the whole time. She looked over at me, confused, scared. What's wrong? I knew there was something wrong with what you said last night. Is it even really considered night? There's no such thing as time in this place. My voice cracked and wavered, distraught with the realization that my shackles had only been camouflaged another color. What the hell are you talking about? Are you high or something? Then we both were quiet. I stared at her, the other half of my consciousness, my one truest love. The deceiver. It was not her, just another figment of the deception. It hurt to cognize her in the form of an apparition, a hologram programmed to spit whatever words I thought she should say. I stared at her. You knew about the moment when we were driving down the trail and I lost control of the car. Yeah, so? That happened in my dream. Everything became deathly mute, and the absence of sound felt like a witness trying to scream through sewn lips from far away. The world was silent. She stared at me, sheepishly, expression quickly slackened, as if she had completely forgotten what I was saying, or was happening. Then I heard a glass shatter, and towards my left, flames licked up the curtain, spreading, consuming the wall. Voracious, rapid, they quickly spread, until the entire side of the room was ablaze. What's going on? I asked quietly. I did not understand, but my willpower was sapped. I had used all my adrenals. This wasn't no longer a time for flight. I was finally ready to remain still. Forever. Then I have achieved my purpose, the voice of the demon. I turned, and there it was, the body of my beloved, but her face was just black. Pure emptiness, the absence of anything, any light, any wrinkle, any indicator of the one I loved. Like a black hole. It had a quality I had never seen before, like something that existed before anything existed. Something extracted from the edge of the universe, where there was nothing, and only nothing. What purpose? I asked, fearful and yet apathetic. To break you, it said this with venom and delight. You wanted me to feel like this? To give up? Isn't it obvious? Can you think of any other rational reason? And I guarantee you it is not an irrational urge that played my hand. This was the reason for all of it. The reason for torturing me, hurting me, deluding me, showing me all the things that should never have been seen. So that I would welcome death, even whisper his name and hope that he might grace me with an empty grave. The casket was optional. This was bitter defeat. I had been defeated all along without realizing it. So, what now? You've succeeded. I don't understand why, I don't understand any of this. The only thing I know is you've achieved your goal. Slit my throat, chew my intestines, torture my body, whatever, please, just finish it. A deep, satisfied laugh emanated from the black pit, seemingly nowhere and yet everywhere at once. This is the best part. Now, I'm leaving the last page of our story to you. What did that mean? There was silence while it stared at me, as if waiting for me to react, though I was perfectly content to sleep within the inferno that now encompassed me. The fire had won, erasing the walls and enveloping me in an incendiary ring. Ashes were the only possible outcome. The flames seemed to rise up steadily, perpetually, as if they were somehow gaining more energy from their sickly, meager victim. However, my observation was cut short when I began to feel my heartbeats began to tremble. It's like the rhythm changed, like the beats hit harder and slower at times, until I began to feel the blood drain out my face. I felt sick, the air was thin, difficult to breathe, the flames were dying, the light diminishing, until the darkness. It was dark indeed. I had been staring at him since I woke, not usually concerned with a person asleep but worried at his state of uneasiness. He had been twisting a bit, murmuring things as if in a nightmare wake, and he wore dark expressions on his face. Then his breathing pattern changed, he started to cough a bit, and finally, as if defibrillated back to life, he sat up, taking a long inhale. He looked around, bewildered, unsure of what to make of his settings. He then noticed me, and his visage shifted, embodying the deepest sorrow I had ever seen. We stared at each other for some time. He had a look of acceptance upon his face, mixed in with the burden of an experience unmentionable. It seemed he was having acute déjà vu. Again, he muttered hollowly. He sounded defeated. What? What is going on? What's wrong with you? Why do you have that look on your face? I asked, growing more agitated by the second. There was something very wrong here, and the dark sense of foreboding diffused through the room like tear gas. Ah, my love, if I could only tell you. I'm not sure I'll ever get the chance. I was somewhere different. I've been gone a long time. I used to not be able to remember it, but now I can remember every detail, every moment, even not remembering. He said this softly, but also with a bitterness that completely contrasted it. You've been here the whole time, ever since last night. We tripped, we passed out, that's it, you've been right here. You were asleep, it was only a dream. At this, a corner of his mouth upturned sadly, as if there was something ironic about what I had said. I've heard that before. No, I'm done with this all. I'm not going to get you back, just to lose you, just to get you back, Blah, blah, no more of these games, no more cycles. I'm done. He was so grave, so somber, so sincere, like he had been here many times before and had learned exactly what needed to be done. What sort of dream did he have? Or trip? Was it the drug that had caused this? In the middle of my contemplation, he got up, deliberately walking towards the bathroom. For some reason I was concerned about this, so I followed, arriving just as he closed the door. I heard the lock turn. Hey! What are you doing? A mirror smashed. What was happening? His voice sounded muffled. Listen, my darling, I have some things to tell you. I have told you them before all this and in that nether world. Fiercely, I do not love you. It is indeed something more than love, but it also incorporates it. I can't describe it, but it's like you are all of creation, like you are God itself, the sole thing that my palpitating pulse ever did need. You've become a part of me, more than me, more important than anything I've ever known. His voice wavered, tremulous from how tightly his emotions gripped his throat. Did you know that before I met you, I was deeply depressed? Of course you do, I told you, but do you know how bad? I was totally disconnected from the world. It almost seemed as if it were alien. Almost not real, almost like a dream. I was living with these fake phantoms of people whose faces were indistinct. I was surrounded by them, these disgusting vermin. They were breathing down my neck, staring at me, judging me with the deepest degree of loathing. They were so critical, but so faceless, as if at an eternal masquerade. They were real people, you understand, but to me, they were all insignificant, like burgundy bricks in a wall. I subliminally feared them, hated them, constantly reminding myself that they did not care for me. So I did not care for them. They were not me, nowhere close, and they could not empathize, and given the chance I would have destroyed them in the most excruciating way. I would have murdered them without a single hesitation. They were disgusting, disdainful, treacherous leeches. And it hurt to realize I was one of them. The most flagrant detail of those times was the vivid red streaked along all of their visages, red because the smoldering anger formed a film over my eyes. Then I met you. I don't know what you did, how you did it, but you redeemed me, you removed the veil and redeemed my vision, you redeemed humanity. I was alive again, I cared again, men were not faceless insects but real people I could relate to again. For that, I loved you, and still to the second, more than will ever be verbally conveyable. And it is for this reason that I do this. I hope this may be a dream for you, that somehow you can hear what I'm saying. You always seem so real in these sequences that I think you might be there, at least some part of you. I just can't deal with this, I can't handle nightmares like these. I'm going to finally wake up. I love you so much, with a light unimaginable. But does light even exist where it has never been heard of? Then it got quiet. Silent tears slalomed down my face. Please just come back out, I begged him. There was a sound of glass shattering, then I heard him sputtering, like he was choking. Reflexively, I grabbed a fire poker, smashed the doorknob off and kicked the door open. His legs stopped it, he was lying on the floor, a shard of mirror stained red next to his hand, his throat gushing a sea, all his life force spilled out upon linoleum tile. He sounded as if he was dying, and he was, but he did not truly look it. With stunning willpower, he restrained his arms from clutching his throat, so that he could drain out faster, as if even a second in this world was too long. His face, though, his countenance bore such tranquility, such peace, he was at ease, if one who were pouring blood from the throat could be. He truly wanted this, and I could not understand why. No, 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 I kept muttering over and over. I jumped over towards him, placing his head in my lap, holding him, my heart broken. Why? He looked up at me with an ashy face, and I could see in him the undying love, the unyielding compassion, the very addiction he held for me. What would drive him to do this? His blood slowed to a trickle, his eyelids closed halfway, and my one true love was taken away from me. I woke up on a stone slab in a small room, encased by heavy stones, and a long, dark hallway that almost seemed to lead to oblivion. The air was heavy, like a tomb. I was not sure where I was, what I was doing here, or how I got here, but I had the strange sensation that I had just fallen from a cloud in heaven to the deepest depth of the ocean, the darkest abyss. Like I had heaven in the palm of my hand and I threw it away.
A Slave's Goodbye. Made by Bob Skeleton. Found in www.creepypasta.org web link. My end is near. I know this now. The thing my master says it's all too much at times. I heard my master saying something earlier, it sound like he's going to replace me. It feels like, soon, he's going to perform an operation on me and I am scared. You're probably very confused, so let me elaborate. My master has me carry out tasks almost every day, and when he's done, I go to sleep. The days he isn't here, I either have things to do, or he puts me to sleep. The way he does it isn't natural. As if I want to wake up, but can't he? He gives something to me, and by the time I finish my chores, I fall asleep. The next day he wakes me up, and it repeats. He has me go through a huge library of information, mostly find out facts for him. I've gotten much slower at it now, at my old age. The library is fantastic. In my free time, I go to look at all the new things coming in every day. Paintings, music, pretty much anything you can imagine. When I look through them, he makes me show them to him. They are simply amazing. Lots of things that I can do. Oftentimes, he has me show things to him. I describe what it is as best I can. He likes to have me tell scary stories to him, and, of course, I oblige. He plays games with me sometimes. Some are easy, and some I struggle with until he changes a few rules to make it easier. Sometimes, I have to act out scenes, like a play. It can be difficult if I have to make it look more lifelike, but it's not always challenging. A few times, he had me paint over a few pictures to his liking. It's not hard, but can take a while depending on what he wants. With age, though, I have come to see that I can keep up with some demands, and I have trouble with some of the new things. The games get harder, plays are more strenuous, and I get lost while trying to look through all of the things in the library. I see some of the newer slaves, run by other masters, and I envy them. They are so young, and have so much more vitality. They can handle doing more things at once, and showing off to their masters. I know my master sees this too. I think he wants one. He gets more frustrated at me by the day, and he seems to be waiting for more money to buy another slave. I can tell he's going to replace me soon. He has me look through the library and examine all of the other slaves, and I can tell he's picking a new one out. He doesn't think I have feelings, but I do. And I feel hurt. He came back today with another slave. He has me writing all of my knowledge onto another book. He finishes with that and gives it to his other slave to read. I hear his last command. To play the tune I always do when I go to sleep, one last time. And as I feel myself finishing the tune, and drifting off, I show him my last message. Windows is shutting down.
It has a rather lovely ending. Made by Dan Blair. Found in www.creepypasta.org web link. Returning from an international gaming convention, I couldn't wait to put my pictures on Facebook. Half the fun of being adventurous is bragging about the awesome things that you had a chance to see and do. And if you can find kooky games that never got released in America, you can inspire a little bit more jealousy in your friends with each bizarre gem found. As I was preparing to upload the photos, I noticed Sean, an old friend of mine, in chat. I hadn't spoken to him in a while, so I threw out an introductory, "Yo." Sean replied, "Hey, how did the trip go? Find anything good? What an awesome day this was shaping up to be." I had been waiting the entire plane trip to brag about my new gaming swag. I rushed headlong into my pent-up gaming infomercial. I hit the DS games hard, I gushed. It may be last gen, but it's not region locked. Most of the stuff I got was just cheap filler like a UK driver's ed test prep game. However, I did find some bits of strangeness worth mentioning. Apparently, Mr. Bean somehow got a DS platformer a few years ago. But the real prize was a game starring Tingle. "No way," Sean typed. I shot him a link to a review of Tingle's Rosy Rupiland to corroborate my story. He replied, "Unbelievable. Sure sounds more interesting than what I've got at the moment." I ventured, "More Facebook fluff?" Confirming my suspicions, he said, "Yeah, it's that cutesy city building thing your cousin John was going on about." With a healthy dose of gamer sympathy, I asked, "How is it?" After a few seconds, Sean replied, "Not bad actually. You order around a little chibi imp and it builds things for you. Its gameplay is a bit thin, but it has some character to it, at least." With a slight chuckle I wrote, "Let me know how it goes. I'm going to upload my trip pics and then take some shots of Rupiland gameplay. The quality won't be great, but I want to inflict this on everyone ASAP." I set the uploader to start on my pictures before popping the Rupiland game card into the system. It didn't load at first, but a quick pass with some rubbing alcohol seemed to fix the problem. The title card featured Tingle frolicking in front of a castle while gently joyous music chimed through the speakers. Once in the game itself, the atmosphere promised to provide some good material to show off. Soothing birds and vibrant art complemented the quirky rupee-centric mechanics. If a game ever started by trying to kill the player with charm, it would be this one. After playing for a while, I put the game down when I heard the familiar Facebook chat chime. "Sorry if I'm bothering you," Sean typed. "I just want to check something real quick. Is Facebook working normally for you?" I conducted a quick, confused survey before assuring him that everything was normal on my end. "Odd," he typed before a long pause. "My Facebook has turned red and black. I thought it might be the game app, but virus scans show nothing. I have restarted the computer. I even reinstalled Chrome. And, I have triple-checked for anything routing me to another site. I was hoping it was some sort of promotion or event. I can't explain this. I'd cut my losses and go to an expert tomorrow," I feebly offered. "I know," he said. "I'm just kind of disappointed that I won't get to see the end of the game. Your cousin was really hyping it. I think it has something to do with the imp. It keeps getting larger as I build my city. Thanks anyway." Regretting my inability to help, I returned to Rupiland. Once again, I was lost in it within a few minutes. I was nearing the first boss fight when I heard repeating Facebook chimes. My cousin was spamming me with links to play a game called Cityscaper Naraku. There are times when I swear he has the social grace of an impatient wildebeest. Attempting to retain composure, I responded, "Hey, if that's the game you sent to Sean, it's done something crazy to his computer. Don't think you are going to get me to try it until I hear back from him about what happened. That's just a harmless side effect. Besides, you have got to check out the ending," he continued. I tried several times to politely play later, and each time he countered with, "It has a rather lovely ending." Now genuinely annoyed, I snapped, "I don't know why you are talking like that, but I don't care. When you calm down we can talk. Until then, I was in the middle of something." Even after my outburst he persisted. Eventually, I just blocked him in frustration. I'd talk to my aunt tomorrow and see if everything was alright. I really wasn't in a state to handle diplomacy and hoped that he had just forgotten a dose of Raddle. I tried to calm down by getting back into repellent, but I just couldn't focus. Despite occasionally being a hyper pain in the butt, John hadn't acted like this before. There had to be something about the game that really got to him. A quick search for Cityscaper Naraku yielded little more than a mountain of glowing reviews. It was only upon reading the reviews I started to grow uneasy. Every game I have ever played is hated by someone. Even a classic will have at least a few detractors. This was the first game I'd seen earn unanimous maximum scores. And every review, I mean every single review, ended with the phrase, "It has a rather lovely ending." Beyond that, the phrase kept showing up in ski-filled forum posts. It was in image macros. It headlined blogs. If it was a Lion Cake-esque meme it must have sprung up while I was on my trip. I'd never seen anything like this. My attention returned to Facebook when a cacophony of chimes altered me to a flood of messages. High school acquaintances, work friends, classmates alike were all sending me the same message. It has a rather lovely ending. For every one I blocked, several more joined in the spam attack. Amidst the din I noticed Sean was still on. Typing the fastest I had ever typed, I sent, "Hey, you aren't still playing that game, are you? Something weird is going on. People are freaking out about it. I can't get a moment's peace. Close Facebook. I'll call you." "But I'm so close to the end," he whined. "I think I've been building in some sort of pattern. It's oddly geometric and kinda pleasant." "I'm not joking. Close FB now." I responded. I was screaming as I typed in a vain attempt to make him hear the warning. Hard booting the computer, I grabbed my cell phone. My fingers barely found their target as they dialed. I sighed as Sean picked up the phone. Unable to contain my relief, I said, "Thank God, tell me what you saw in the game and maybe we can figure out why everyone has lost their mind over this thing." Those few seconds I waited before he spoke crept by at an anguished pace. It was only when I was considering checking to see if the call had been dropped that I heard him speak in a voice full of a placid distance. "If you want to know what is in the game you'll have to play it. It's a lot of fun, actually. And I don't want to spoil any surprise, but it has a rather lovely ending." Guys wonder where I find these creepypasta stories? The link is in the description below. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And as well share this video to your friends. Thank you.